Hi there, it's Kevin with GatheringMagic.com here with the wrap-up video for the Playing on a Budget. I wasn't very impressed with how this deck ran. I know that those first two matchups should have been almost auto wins for us. The only thing that can lose those matchups with the amount of control in this deck is bad draws, and we sure had our fair share of those against those aggro matchups. So anyway, yeah, going 1-4, actually 1-5. I didn't tape one of the games against a Launch the Fleets deck because I again proceeded to mulligan down to oblivion both games. Speaking of which, I think one of the cards I was impressed with that seemed good against every matchup was Izzet Charm. If I was going to do any sort of tweaking to this deck, I'm into the point where I don't want to play this deck again. First of all, it's not really my playstyle. Second of all, it did not perform well, and there's only so much you can blame the draws for. So Izzet Charm I'd put up to a 4 of. I'm thinking that's fine. Quickens are still good with Divinations. I was impressed with those. I don't know if Elixir of Immortality is necessary main board. I put 2 in the sideboard and maybe cut it altogether. Another card that I think would be amazing against the two matchups that I did lose would be Needles. And in fact, I'm under the impression that Needle could be main boarded just fine. In fact, I'd main board 2 Needles and maybe even put 1 sideboard because they're very powerful. And I would put those in replace of maybe Ornithopters. Maybe I definitely would cut 1 Ornithopter. Again, maybe they're relying too much on the Ensoul Artifact, but Ensoul Artifact on Ornithopter is very, very risky in the format. It's more of like, the only time I'd use Ensoul Artifact on an Ornithopter is knowing that it was going to stick, and it's going to stick for a few turns. So I'd cut the Ornithopters down to a 3 of, and Illusory Angel can work off Needle. In fact, I wasn't too impressed with Illusory Angel altogether. I'd probably cut down another one, as it didn't do much. It just dies to Mizzium Mortars, which is huge. It dies to Abrupt Decay, which is huge. Again, I think it's just a 2 of. It's a nice if you don't want to have it. There's many games where I just died with having that in our hand. Now, we do need a finisher. What I would suggest would be Keranos. Keranos, God of the Storms. And in fact, I'd even put 1 in the sideboard as well. Hammer of Purphoros, again, is going to be your other win condition. Now, Shrapnel Blast is a 4 of. I actually was impressed with Shrapnel Blast. I think there's plenty of targets for it. Darksteel Ingot, it was good with the Ensoul Artifacts. And again, I don't even know if... I think the 4 of Ensoul Artifacts is fine, because on Darksteel Citadel it's great. But yes, something could be Abrupt Decay, something could be Golgari Charmed. Maybe it's not the best to have 4 of them in here. But every time we saw it, we did like it. So, again, the synergy with Hammer of Purphoros is pretty good. So, I don't know. I don't know what would be the cut. We'd have to cut 1 card, and I'd want to go back up to... maybe 23. Yeah, 24. 24 lands would be the right play. I would bring in another. Of course, Steam Vents would be the one that I'd bring in. A full set of these. Again, no budget's constrained. This is the list I would do. So we'd have to cut 1 card. Maybe just the Darksteel Ingot isn't viable. It doesn't really help us much. I mean, it could ramp. Now actually it gets a lot more... it gets a lot better if we're going to go into the Keranos strategy. So maybe if we're going to keep in the Ensoul Artifacts, I still want 24 though, and I'd actually want 2 Keranoses. I'm just not impressed with Ornithopter is the problem. One of the problems with MTGO is it gets stuck. So maybe just a 2 of Ornithopter, and Illusory Angels, Quickens. Maybe Quickens need to be sideboarded. Again, I don't think we needed so many Magma Sprays and whatnot. I'm thinking Anger of Gods is good against those aggressive decks. Anger of Gods exiles the Voice of Resurgence as well. So I don't really see a point to running more than... And maybe Shocks are a little bit high main boarded here as well. I'm definitely not going down in the negates. 1 Rapid Hybridization is fine. I think this is a very, very solid sideboard. We don't need the Needle. Say we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So maybe 2 of Needle main board's fine. What we're gonna do is we're gonna bring 1 of these Needles over to the sideboard and cut 1 of these Needles, and then we have to cut down 1 card. I'm still under the impression that it's either a Shock or an Ensoul Artifact. But if we're using the Darksteel Ingots, I'm thinking that the Shock Shock, we have the Izzet Charm up to 4 of. We get Divination 3 is fine. Ratchet Bomb, I think that Shock is unnecessary. I think the 3 of Shock was the way to go. And this gives us a more well-rounded attack. Yeah, I think this is definitely the list. This is the concluding list that I'd run. I'm not going to run another one. I'm not going to do a bonus matchup today. I did 5 rounds, technically 6, with the deck. And overall, I don't even know if this is going to work. I think that the finisher with Keranos is the way to go, though. And then bringing in, like, the Anger of Gods control list, wiping the board, and then Keranos as the finishers is better than relying on Illusory Angel. I understand Illusory Angel and Ornithopter with the Ensoul Artifact can definitely be aggressive and win some of those matchups where they can't interact with you. But really, most of those decks, you could actually win by taking the control route, so I don't really see an advantage. I think 2 of each is fine. And yeah, the only other card that maybe I would, I actually would say go down in a Shock, go down to 3 of Shock and add 1 more Mizzium. Mortars is just so good in the format right now, with Courses of Crewfix everywhere, with Nightveil Specters with Shock can't hit, and I think a 2 of is fine. Now it's saying we're up to 61 again, and what did it add on me here? Did it not get rid of a Shock there? Let's see. Let's refresh it. And still saying 61. But yeah, maybe we just get rid of a needle. There we go. Just one needle main board, one side. That's plenty to bring in. There's our 60 card deck. 3 Mizzium Mortars. So again, we'll sort this. See how it's looking here. So just a 2 of Ornithopter, 2 of Illusory Angel. We got the card draw with a Divination. We have Izzet Charms that are really acting as our main board and negates. It's just a very versatile card. I definitely like it. Ratchet Bomb, yeah, I think Ratchet Bomb's fine for all the pack rats. We didn't get to see the mono black list. There's plenty of lists we didn't get to see how this works. The deck definitely can win, and most of those matchups weren't unwinnable. Even Control, with the ability to end a turn Shrapnel Blast, and if we had like Hammer of Purphoros and then throwing the Illusory Angel and attacking or slapping on an Ensoul Artifact on the Ornithopter, I can definitely see it able to beat the UI control. Other than that list is definitely hard. With the Keranos, it gets much better, though. So this is the list I would run. It probably puts you over budget just slightly because Keranoses are a bit expensive. If that was the case, I would cut down on like the Shivan Reef or Steam Vents or something. But anyway, this would be the list that I'd run if I were to do this over again. Let me know what you thought about this deck. Maybe I'll showcase for next week's the Scuttling Doom Engine version, where you use Chief Engineer, Scuttling Doom Engines. I think that's actually better because usually it makes the Ornithopters and Illusory Angels more of a threat than they are in this deck, as the opponent doesn't have to waste a lot of early removal on aggro. So like Hero's Downfalls are great versus the Angels. Again, Abrupt Decays. You have Ultimate Prices, Doomblades, all those things that are easily able to take care of a 4/4 Angel that's hard to get out. I would just like to rely on like a card that is even like just a Master of Waves is 2/2/1s for 4 mana, or even like a Nightveil Spectre 2/3 flyer with an upside might just be better than a 4/4 flyer. Again, it doesn't get around the Anger of Gods, but I'm thinking that the hoops we had to jump through to cast Illusory Angel did not make it worth it. But this would take a lot of playtesting. If you have experience with this deck, let me know how it ran, and let me know what I could have done differently. Anyway, this has been Kevin with GatheringMagic.com. Thanks for watching.